I stare at the flickering candles stuck in a store-bought cupcake, the tiny flame dancing as if mocking my solitary celebration. 26 years on this earth, and here I sit alone at my kitchen table, the silence broken only by the occasional car passing by outside my apartment window. My phone lights up again. Fourth time in the last hour. Mom and Dad. 7 years of silence, and now this. My hands shake as I reach for the device, then pull back as if it might burn me. The stark white walls of my modest apartment suddenly feel like a fortress, a sanctuary I've built brick by brick. No raised voices here, no walking on eggshells, no Rachel. The memory flashes unbidden our childhood home with its perpetual cloud of tension, the constant orbit around my sister's moods. The way my parents' eyes would flick to Rachel whenever she entered a room, assessing, preparing. My phone buzzes again, rattling against the wooden table. The cupcake's frosting has started to droop in the candle's heat. Maybe it's an emergency. Maybe someone died. Maybe I'm a fool. I swipe the screen and press the phone to my ear, my voice barely above a whisper. Hello? There's a brief pause, a sharp intake of breath, and then my father's voice fills my ear. It's older, gruffer, but unmistakable. Megan, sweetheart, happy birthday. His forced cheerfulness lands like a false note, jarring and wrong. My father never remembered birthdays without my mother's reminder stand. He certainly never called me sweetheart. Richard, let me talk to her. My mother's voice, closer to the receiver now. Megan, is that you? Oh, we've missed you so much. The words come too quickly, tripping over themselves in their eagerness. A knot forms in my stomach, familiar and sickening. This isn't a reconciliation call. Why are you calling? I ask, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. Silence stretches between us, thin and fragile. I can almost hear them exchanging glances across their living room, the same silent communication they've perfected over decades of managing Rachel's episodes and my reactions to them. Well, we've been thinking about you. My mother again, her voice softening into the tone she used when explaining why we couldn't have friends over, or why my school play wasn't as important as Rachel's therapy appointment. It's been too long, and Mom, I cut her off. It's been 7 years. Why now? Another pause. I hear my father clear his throat. Well, honey, we've had some complications. Your sister's been going through a little trouble. There it is. My free hand curls into a fist on the table. Of course it would be about Rachel. My mother jumps in, words tumbling out. It's nothing serious, just a misunderstanding at work. You know how people can be, how they don't understand Rachel's sensitivity. I say nothing, waiting. I've learned that silence often reveals more than questions. The thing is, my father continues, his businessman voice taking over. We need to hire a good lawyer. Rachel needs proper representation. We need $75,000 by Friday. The amount hits me like a physical blow. $75,000. My entire savings and then some. For Rachel, I repeat flatly. For your sister, my mother corrects, that edge of steel beneath her pleasant tone. Family helps family, Megan. A memory surfaces, unbidden and sharp. My 8th birthday. I'd been unwrapping presents a doll I'd begged for, some books, a sweater from Grandma when Rachel started screaming. She'd been 14 then, tall and gangly with our father's dark eyes and our mother's sharp features. Something about the attention I was receiving had triggered her, and within seconds, my carefully arranged gifts were scattered across the floor as my parents rushed to comfort her. She can't help it, my father had said later, as I gathered my trampled presents. You need to be more understanding. Understanding. As if I hadn't spent my entire childhood understanding. As if I hadn't nursed bruises from Rachel's episodes while being lectured about her difficulties. I think of the family portrait that hung in our hallway for years. Everyone smiling except me. I'd tried, but something in my eyes had given me away the knowledge that I wasn't really part of their unit, just an accessory to it. Then, the final memory, the one that changed everything. 18 years old, clutching my college acceptance letter, the full scholarship I'd worked so hard for, my escape. "We had you to take care of Rachel," my father had said, not unkindly, just matter-of-factly. "Your sister needs you more than some college does." My mother nodding in agreement. "We always knew you'd be the responsible one, the one we could count on." That night, I'd packed a single suitcase and called my grandfather. I left without saying goodbye. "Megan, are you still there?" My mother's voice pulls me back to the present. "We can discuss a payment plan if that's easier." I look at the cupcake before me. The candle has burned down completely, drowning in a pool of its own wax. "No," I say, cutting off my father's beginning pitch. "No, I don't think so." "Megan." I end the call mid-plea. For a long moment I sit motionless, staring at the darkened cupcake. Then I stand, walk to my bookshelf, and pull out a worn leather journal. The words "never again" are written in faded ink on the cover, a promise I made to myself the day I left. I open to a fresh page, write today's date, and then, with a steady hand, "They called. They want money. Some things never change." What would you do if your family only remembered you existed when they needed something? Would you answer that call after 7 years of silence? I close the journal and place it back on the shelf, suddenly aware of how peaceful my apartment is, how completely it belongs to me, how free I am. Their problems are no longer mine. The blue light of my computer screen casts shadows across my face as I click through court records. My office feels smaller today. The walls of awards and certificates that usually remind me how far I've come now seem like they're closing in. I stare at the headline on my screen, reading it for the third time. "Woman assaults coworker. Claims emotional regulation issues." Rachel's face stares back at me from the article photo. She looks so much like Mom now. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Jeff says, leaning against my doorframe. His usual easy smile fades when he sees my expression. "Everything okay, Megan?" I minimize the window, my hand trembling slightly as I reach for my coffee mug. "Just some family." Jeff hesitates, then steps inside and closes the door. "I know that look," he says, settling into the chair across from me. "I didn't speak to my parents for 5 years." I look up, surprised. "You never mentioned that." "Not something you put on a resume," he says with a half smile. "My father was controlling. Mother enabled it. When I finally set boundaries, they went scorched earth, told the whole family I abandoned them." "How did you handle it?" I ask, recognizing my own story in his words. "Kept living my life. Built something they couldn't tear down." He stands, straightening his tie. "Whatever you're dealing with, remember you don't owe toxic people a place in your life, even if they're family. Especially if they're family." Jeff nods but doesn't press further. That's what I appreciate about him. He respects boundaries, something my family never learned. After he leaves, I reopen the article. It wasn't just one incident. There were others, 5 workplace incidents in 3 years, all quietly settled, all paid for. All buried until someone finally pressed charges. My phone vibrates. Grandmother. "Megan, honey, I need to tell you something," she says without preamble. Her voice sounds older than I remember, frailer. "Your parents have been telling stories about you." My stomach tightens. "What kind of stories?" "That you abandoned the family because you couldn't handle responsibilities. That you were jealous of the attention Rachel needed." She pauses, her breath crackling through the line. "They've made your mother into some kind of martyr, poor Ellen, dealing with an ungrateful daughter while caring for Rachel." I press my fingers against my closed eyes. "And Dad?" "Oh, Robert's playing his part perfectly. We've given Rachel everything she needs to succeed." As if throwing money at problems fixes them. The familiar edge returns to her voice. And that sister of yours, she tells anyone who listens that you abandoned the family out of selfishness. The weight of their lies settles on my shoulders like a familiar heavy coat. 7 years of silence, and they've been rewriting history the whole time. My phone pings with a text. Grandfather. You don't owe them anything, Maggie. Not one damn thing. I smile despite myself. At 82, he's still my fiercest defender. I shut down the computer and gather my things. My weekly appointment with Dr. Landry isn't until tomorrow, but I call to see if she has any cancellations today. The warm lighting of her office, the comfortable chair where I've shed so many tears over the years, I need that safe space now. By the time I get home, Emma is waiting at my door with takeout bags and a bottle of wine. Bad day? She asks, taking in my appearance. The worst. She follows me inside, setting out containers of pad thai on my kitchen counter. Want to talk about it? I hand her plates from the cabinet. Found out Rachel assaulted a coworker. Parents are asking for money to make it go away. Emma's eyebrows shoot up. After 7 years of silence? And apparently they've spent that time telling everyone I'm the villain who abandoned my poor troubled sister, I add, pouring us each a glass of wine. Emma's hand covers mine. Family isn't always blood, Meg. You know that. I nod, thinking of my grandfather, of Emma, of Dr. Landrith, people who actually show up when I need them. My phone buzzes with a voicemail. Dad. Megan, if we don't get this money by Friday, Rachel could go to jail. This isn't a game. His voice sounds thinner than I remember, stretched with worry. Delete. An email notification from Mom, where I bandaged my own cuts and calmed my own fears. Delete. A text from an unknown number. You always were the selfish one. Block. I open my laptop, determined to finish what I started at the office. It takes 3 hours of searching, but I find it student loans opened in my name during my college years. Loans I never applied for, never signed for, never knew existed. My hands stop trembling. Instead, a calm clarity washes over me, the kind that comes with certainty. The next morning, I call the credit bureau. Yes, ma'am, I understand, the agent says after I explain. This is clearly identity fraud. We'll start the dispute process immediately. Relief floods through me. Thank you. After hanging up, I drive to the phone store and change my number. The young clerk smiles as she hands me my new SIM card. All set. Back in my apartment, I open my laptop and begin drafting a letter to my parents' lawyer. Each word feels like laying another brick in the wall between my past and my future. To whom it may concern. This letter serves as formal notice that I, Megan Carter, will not be providing financial assistance for Rachel Carter's legal matters. Furthermore, I have initiated identity theft investigations regarding student loans fraudulently opened in my name. I pause, my fingers hovering above the keyboard. Grandfather's words echo in my mind. You don't owe them anything. He's right. I've spent years rebuilding what they tore down: my confidence, my peace, my sense of worth. I won't let them demolish it again with guilt and manipulation. I finish the letter, each word a declaration of independence. Have you ever discovered that someone was telling lies about you for years? How do you rebuild your reputation when your own family has been undermining you? Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you simply build a new life so solid that their lies can't touch it anymore. I spot her the moment I push through the revolving doors of Thompson & Klein. My mother stands in the marble-floored lobby, her caramel highlights catching the morning light. Designer handbag clutched against her chest. My stomach plummets. She's dressed for an audience in a tailored navy dress that probably cost more than my rent. 3 steps in, she notices me and her face transforms, eyes widening as tears spring forth on command. For a moment, I'm 8 years old again, watching her practice expressions in the bathroom mirror before my father's business dinners. Megan! Her voice carries across the lobby, drawing the attention of the security guard and several colleagues passing through. "Oh, sweetheart, finally!" I freeze mid-stride, briefcase suddenly heavy in my hand. This isn't random. This is deliberate. She's created a stage and cast herself as the heartbroken mother. She rushes toward me, pulling a stack of photographs from her purse. "Look what I brought," she says, voice wavering perfectly. "Remember this Christmas? And here's your high school graduation." She thrusts the photos at me, ensuring everyone nearby can see. "How could you abandon us like your sister needs you?" My colleague Jenna slows her pace, eyes darting between us with undisguised curiosity. Two interns have stopped completely, watching the drama unfold. An odd calm settles over me. I've spent years imagining this moment, rehearsing it in therapy, dreading it in nightmares. But now that it's here, I feel nothing but a strange, quiet strength. "Mother," I say, keeping my voice level and professional. "This is my workplace. You need to leave." "But Rachel," "is not my responsibility." The words come out clear and firm. "Never." Her face flushes, the practiced vulnerability slipping for just a second. "After everything we've done for you?" The security guard approaches, his expression concerned. "Miss Carter, is everything all right?" "No, it's not." I turn to him, shoulders squared. "This woman is harassing me and disrupting my workplace. She needs to be escorted out." My mother's mouth falls open. This isn't the script she prepared for the one where I crumble under public scrutiny, where guilt drives me back into line. "I'm her mother," she protests, voice rising. "Tell him, Megan. Tell him who I am." "I know exactly who you are," I say, suddenly aware that I'm standing taller than I have in years. "And so will everyone else," continue making a scene. The guard nods, understanding passing between us. "Ma'am, come with me." As he leads her toward the exit, my mother looks back, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. "This isn't over, Megan." But watching her diminish through the glass doors, I realize something has ended. Her power over me. The fear that has lived in my chest since childhood. My phone vibrates in my pocket. Unknown number. I silence it, only for it to start ringing again immediately. When I reach my desk, there's a message waiting. "Elaine wants to see you. Now." Elaine Carter, Director of Client Relations and my direct supervisor, doesn't look up when I enter her office. Her face is tight with annoyance. "Your father has called 3 times in the last hour," she says, finally meeting my eyes. "Claims there's a family emergency requiring your immediate attention. Said you weren't answering your phone." She taps her pen against the desk. "He tried to convince me to give him your current address." My throat tightens. I'm so sorry about that. And about my mother in the lobby. They're toxic. Elaine finishes, her expression softening unexpectedly. "I've dealt with toxic family too. Recognize the tactics the moment your father started talking about your poor sister and how you've abandoned your family responsibilities." Relief crashes through me like a wave. "I didn't abandon anyone. I escaped." Elaine nods. "Take whatever time you need to deal with this. And Megan, security has been notified not to allow either of your parents into the building again." Back at my desk, I unlock my phone to find 17 notifications. Rachel has been busy. Her Instagram post gleams with practiced indignation. "Some sisters abandon family when times get tough. Some of us stay and fight." My finger hovers over the screen for only a second before I block her. Then my parents. Then every flying monkey they've ever sent my way. Each tap feels like breaking a chain, and when I'm done, I'm lighter. The guilt that usually follows these small acts of self-protection is noticeably absent. Grandfather's home smells of pipe tobacco and old books, despite the fact he hasn't smoked in 15 years. The familiar scent steadies me as I wait in his study, manila folder clutched in my hands. My evidence, my truth. "They're here," he says, entering the room with a glass of water for me. His voice is gentle but firm, like always. Rachel came too. "Of course she did. The ambush tactic." I straighten the contents of my folder one last time: therapy reports documenting years of parentification, financial records of accounts opened in my name, photographs of bruises carefully dated and labeled, medical records showing Rachel's diagnoses and my parents' consistent refusal of recommended treatments. I'm ready, I tell him, though my heart against my ribs. They enter like a funeral procession, me father first, face creased with practiced concern, then my mother, eyes already glistening with unshed tears. Rachel trails behind, her expression a perfect mask of wounded innocence. 3 actors who've rehearsed their parts. Megan, my father begins, settling into the armchair across from me. We're here because we love you. I don't answer. Instead, I open the folder and place my therapy intake form from 7 years ago on the coffee table between us. This is why I left. I say, my voice steadier than I thought possible, not because I didn't love you enough, because I finally loved myself. My mother's eyes narrow at the document. What is this? I place another paper beside it. Credit card statements for accounts you opened in my name during my first semester of college. Another page joins it. Hospital records from when Rachel pushed me down the stairs when I was 12. And another. The form where Dad declined Rachel's recommended treatment plan, signed 3 separate times over 5 years. I was never your daughter, I say, the truth flowing through me like a river breaking through a dam. I was Rachel's keeper. I was her emotional regulation. I was the sacrifice you made so you wouldn't have to face her issues. My grandfather moves to stand beside me, his hand warm on my shoulder. I've watched this my whole life, he says, his voice heavy with the weight of years. It ends today. My mother's face hardens as she looks from the evidence to my grandfather. After everything we did for you, this is how you repay us? By poisoning your grandfather against us? When no guilt crashes through me, I realize just how far I've come. We won't help with Rachel's legal troubles, grandfather says firmly. Not this time. My father shifts uncomfortably. You don't understand what's at stake without that money. You'll cut me out of the will? Grandfather interrupts. Head. My mother's smile is thin and certain. We will. I've already changed mine, grandfather replies calmly. Megan is my heir now. The shock on their faces would be comical if it weren't so sad. Financial leverage, their favorite tool, suddenly useless. I turn to my father, asking the question that has haunted me since childhood. Did you ever love me for me? Not for what I could do for Rachel, or you just for being your daughter? His telling silence is the only answer I need. Rachel, sensing the shift in power, stands abruptly. This is bullshit. Her voice rises to that familiar pitch, the one that always preceded destruction in our childhood home. She abandoned us. She's always been jealous of me, and now she's turned Grandpa against us too. She grabs the therapy reports from the table, tearing them in half. These are lies. Tell them, Mom. Tell them how she always exaggerates. My mother doesn't move, her eyes fixed on my grandfather, calculation visible in every line of her face. Rachel's breath comes faster. Fine, don't defend me. She sweeps her arm across the coffee table, sending my carefully organized evidence scattering across the hardwood floor. For the first time, my grandfather sees Rachel clearly, not as the troubled granddaughter everyone must accommodate, but as a grown woman refusing accountability. The realization settles into the lines of his face. I think you should leave now, he tells my parents quietly. After they go, I sit in my grandfather's kitchen, hands wrapped around a mug of tea that's gone cold. I need to prepare. I say, more to myself than to him. They won't stop here. No, they won't, he agrees, reaching for his address book. I know a good lawyer, specializes in harassment case. I nod, already making mental lists. Cease and desist letter, security system for my apartment, new phone number maybe. My phone buzzes with messages from Hannah and Emma, checking in. Then another from my colleague Jenna. Hey, heard about your mom showing up. I've got a great security guy who did my condo after my divorce. Call me if you need anything. My circle of protection, my chosen family. They've created a fortress around me stronger than any wall my parents could breach. At what point does forgiveness become self-destruction? I don't know. But I do know that today, I stood my ground. The battle is far from over, but for the first time in my life, I wasn't standing alone. I sit cross-legged on my living room floor, camera positioned on the coffee table, the red recording light staring back at me like an unblinking eye. My name is Megan Carter. I begin, my voice stronger than I expected. This is the complete, unedited story of what happened in my family. I'm recording this because the truth deserves to exist somewhere besides just in my memories. For the next hour, I speak directly to the camera, documenting everything: the childhood incidents, the stolen college fund, the years of being told my sole purpose was to care for Rachel. I don't cry until I describe the night I left, how grandfather's headlights cutting through the darkness felt like salvation. When I finally stop recording, Hannah sits beside me on the floor, her cardigan sleeve brushing against my arm. "That was brave," she says, her voice gentle but firm. "Really brave." I nod, unable to speak for a moment. I need to understand what really happened with Rachel, what they were hiding all those years. The family therapist's office smells like lavender and old books. Dr. Linden, a woman in her 60s with silver-framed glasses, slides a folder across her desk toward me. Rachel was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder at 14. She says, her eyes kind but direct. With proper treatment, many people with BPD learn to manage their symptoms effectively. I stare at the treatment plans spanning years, all with the same notation at the bottom. Parents declined recommended course of treatment. My stomach twists. They refused treatment for decades? Dr. Linden removes her glasses. Your parents rejected dialectical behavior therapy, family therapy, and even basic medication management. They preferred to handle it within the family. I run my finger over the paper, years of my life summarized in clinical notes. They used me as her treatment plan. We've seen this pattern before, says Elaine, from the advocacy group, her office walls covered with empowerment posters. One child designated as the problem, another as the solution. The solution child isn't allowed to have needs of their own. I clutch my coffee cup tighter. I thought I was alone in this. Far from it, she replies, sliding a brochure toward me. That's why we exist. The text from Cousin David arrives while I'm reviewing notes from yesterday's meeting. Did you really abandon your family because Rachel needed help? Aunt Carol is saying some pretty wild stuff. Before I can respond, more messages arrive from extended family members I haven't heard from in years, each one more bewildering than the last. Your parents are planning a family reunion next month. Noticed you weren't on the invite list. What's going on? Your father showed up at church with Pastor Mike today, asking for prayers for your hardened heart. Then Hannah forwards me a link to the local newspaper's website. My mother's face stares back at me, eyes appropriately teary, beneath the headline. Local family struggles with estrangement, when mental health develops hold. I laugh. A sharp, bitter sound that startles even me. Their desperation is showing. My phone buzzes again. It's David. Just had coffee with your mom. Something felt off. What's really happening here? I take a deep breath and type. It's a long story, but I'd rather tell you my version myself. His response is immediate. I'm listening. By evening, my inbox is flooded. 3 cousins sharing similar stories of being scapegoated by the family. A message from Pastor Mike. Your father didn't tell me the whole story. I'd like to hear your perspective. Most surprisingly, an email from the newspaper editor. Miss Carter, your mother presented what appears to be a one-sided account. We pride ourselves on balanced reporting. Would you care to? The tables are turning so quickly I can barely keep up. Grandfather's open letter to the family arrives in everyone's email simultaneously. For 40 years, I've watched my son and daughter-in-law manipulate the truth about their daughters. I remain silent out of misguided respect. That silence ends today. His words, clear and unflinching, tell the story I could never fully articulate. Hannah offers to speak with any relatives who have questions. My coworkers form a protective circle around my desk when an unfamiliar car lingers in the parking lot. My boss implements new security protocols without me having to ask. The family reunion is canceled when half the guest list declines. Grandmother calls, her voice shaking with long overdue courage. I should have stood up to them years ago, Megan. I'm standing up now. Even Rachel's coworker Tina reaches out. Rachel's been telling stories about you for years. After seeing your parents in action at the office yesterday, I'm questioning everything. The first crack appears at 11:42 p.m. My phone lights up with my mother's number. Megan. Her voice breaks, not with the practiced sob I know so well, but with something raw and unfamiliar. I don't know how to fix this. The next morning, a handwritten letter from my father arrives. Mistakes were made. Grievous ones. Then a text from Rachel that simply reads, I'm starting therapy. Real therapy this time. I show Hannah the messages during lunch. She studies them carefully, professional assessment mingling with friendly concern. They're consulting with an actual family therapist, I tell her, after decades of refusal. When toxic systems start to crumble, Hannah says, stirring her tea thoughtfully, real change becomes possible. Not guaranteed, but possible. I nod, feeling neither triumph nor forgiveness, just a strange, quiet certainty. They finally realize their old tactics won't work anymore. The question now, Hannah says, is what you want moving forward. Healing doesn't necessarily mean reconciliation. I look out the window at the spring buds just beginning to open on the trees. I guess that's what I need to figure out. The knock comes at exactly 6 o'clock, just as Hannah predicted would. Right on time, I murmur, smoothing my hands over the stack of folders on the coffee table. They always did believe punctuality next to godliness. Remember, Hannah says from her position near the kitchen doorway, you've already won by being prepared. These are your terms. I nod, take a deep breath as I cross to the door. The perfect picture of contrition. My hand hesitates on the doorknob. 7 years of silence, and now they stand at my threshold like no time has passed at all. I open the door. Megan, sweetheart. Mom steps forward immediately, arms outstretched. The teddy bear, mister? Buttons, my childhood comfort object that mysteriously disappeared when I was 10 dangles from her hand like bait. We've been so... I step back, maintaining the distance. Please come in. Their eyes sweep my apartment, taking in the evidence of my success without them, the framed diploma, the tasteful furniture, the photos of me with people they don't know. Dad's gaze lingers on the laptop open on my dining table, the video call showing grandfather's face watching silently. I didn't realize this would be a group discussion, Mom says, her smile faltering. Grandfather is family too, I say simply. Please, sit down. They arrange themselves awkwardly on my couch, the couch I bought with my first bonus, the one I chose without anyone telling me it was impractical or too expensive or not right space. Megan, Dad begins, pulling an envelope from his jacket pocket. We've been doing a lot of thinking, and we want to make things right. He slides the envelope toward me. This is the first payment toward what was borrowed from your accounts. I don't touch it. $20,000, I say. That's the amount you took from me. Not borrowed took. There's a difference. Rachel shifts forward, her face a mask of practiced emotion. Meg, I can't tell you how sorry I am for everything. Her voice breaks perfect on cue. The way I treated you growing up, the things I did. She reaches for my hand. I've been working through so much, and I just need my sister back. I move my hand away. When did your therapist suggest you say that, Rachel? Her eyes flicker, just for a moment. Surprise, then calculation. The whole church congregation is praying for you. Mom interjects, dabbing at her eyes. Pastor Miller asks about you every Sunday. They all think it's so sad how you abandoned your sister when she needed you most. When she's struggling with her emotional regulation, Dad adds, his voice dropping meaningfully. Family matters like these should stay private, don't you think? For everyone's sake. Mom clutches her chest suddenly. My blood pressure. I forgot my medication in the car. It's remarkable how familiar this dance is, the guilt, the threats, the sudden health concerns. For years, these tactics sent me scrambling to make peace, to fix everything, to be the good daughter they needed me to be. But today, I feel nothing but a cool clarity. I've invited you in because I have something to offer, I say, just as a gentle knock sounds at the door. That would be Emma. Emma walks in, her calm presence like a shield at my back. She nods briefly to my family before taking her place beside me, exactly as we rehearsed. I've prepared 3 options for how we move forward, I continue, opening the top folder on the wall. Option 1 involves no contact, a legal separation of all financial matters, and documentation of all past fraud for potential future action. Dad's face hardens. Now wait just a minute. I hold up my hand, and to my surprise, he falls silent. Option 2, I continue, involves limited contact under specific conditions. I press play on my phone, and the recording of their birthday call fills the room, their voices demanding money. The casual cruelty of reaching out after 7 years, only because they needed something. Rachel's face drains of color. You recorded us? Instead of responding, I open another folder, laying out bank statements showing the systematic emptying of accounts in my name. Next come the medical records, Rachel's multiple diagnoses, the recommended treatments my parents repeatedly declined, the medications abandoned. Where did you get those? Mom whispers. Those are private. Finally, I say, sliding forward a stack of letters. These are from Aunt Sylvia, Uncle David, Cousin Mark, and others. They've all reached out after learning the truth. They've all offered their support. The room falls completely silent. On the laptop screen, Grandfather watches without speaking, his presence a steady reminder that I'm not alone. My terms for option 2 are non-negotiable, I say, handing each of them a printed sheet. A professional mediator must be present for all family meetings. Rachel continues therapy consistently for 1 full year. You both attend the Parents of Adult Children therapy group at the community center. And a complete financial separation, with a payment plan for what was taken. Mom's face crumples, not in the performative way I've seen countless times, but in genuine despair as the facade finally cracks. Megan, we never meant. Yes, you did, I say quietly. You meant every bit of it. You just never expected to face consequences. Dad stares at his hands, silent tears tracking down his cheeks. Rachel sits frozen, perhaps facing adult accountability for the first time. And option 3? Dad finally asks, his voice rough. Option 3, I say, closing the folders with steady hands, is where you decide which matters more, having me in your life on terms that protect my dignity, or continuing as you always have. I stand, signaling the end of this part of our discussion. The choice is yours. I wake before my alarm, the gentle morning light filtering through my curtains. 1 year. The thought settles over me with a warmth I never expected to feel again. 1 year since I reclaimed my life from decades of obligation and guilt. My morning routine unfolds with a deliberate slowness that still feels like a luxury. No crisis calls to answer, no Rachel to manage, no parents to appease. Just the quiet rhythm of coffee brewing and the soft padding of my feet across hardwood floors. I pause at the gallery wall I've created in my living room. Where once stood formal family portraits with forced smiles are now candid snapshots of chosen family. Hannah laughing during our hiking trip. My coworkers at the team retreat, grandfather teaching me to make his famous blueberry pancakes. These faces reflect back genuine joy, not obligation. At my desk, I open my leather journal, the same one I wrote in that night when they called asking for money. I run my fingers over today's date and write, 1 year since I reclaimed my life. The words flow easily, no longer carrying the sharp edges of anger they once did. My phone chimes with birthday wishes before I've even left for work. Last year I celebrated alone with a single cupcake. Tonight, friends will fill my apartment. The contrast isn't lost on me. To Megan! Hannah raises her glass, her warm brown eyes crinkling at the corners. Who showed us all what courage looks like? My cheeks flush as friends gathered around my dining table join the toast. The table overflows with homemade dishes and bottles of wine. Laughter bubbles up easily, genuine and unguarded. You know, Emma says, passing me another slice of birthday cake, I remember when we first met. You barely smiled. Now look at you. I catch my reflection in the window, me eyes bright, shoulders relaxed, smile unforced. The woman staring back barely resembles the one who sat alone a year ago, terrified to answer her phone. Grandfather arrives late, clutching a small wrapped package. At 82, he still stands tall, though his steps have slowed. This was meant for you all along, he says, pressing the gift into my hands. Inside lies my grandmother's emerald pendant, the one my mother expected to inherit. The gold chain catches the light as I lift it. She wanted you to have it, grandfather whispers. She knew you had her spirit. After everyone leaves, I sit quietly with a cup of tea, taking inventory of the journey. My therapy graduation certificate hangs framed beside my degrees. The contact information for my support group is still pinned to my bulletin board, though now I facilitate more than participate. The volunteer work I do with young adults from toxic homes has become the most rewarding part of my week. I recognize my younger self in their wary eyes and guarded responses. But I also see their potential, waiting to be uncovered once they realize they deserve more. My family has taken different paths through this year. Rachel emails monthly updates from her treatment program. Her messages, once defensive and accusatory, have gradually shifted towards self-awareness. Mother attends Al-Anon meetings, slowly recognizing how her enabling damaged us both. Father remains absent, unable to face the truth about the family he created. Extended family has rallied in unexpected ways. New holiday traditions have formed that honor boundaries rather than trampling them. Cousins who once believed the narrative about my abandonment now understand the fuller truth. The scholarship fund I established for students estranged from family already has its first recipient. Grandfather matched my contribution, doubling its impact. The family recipe book sits on my counter, now filled with contributions from friends who have become family. A letter arrived yesterday from Jessie, a young woman I've been mentoring. You showed me I have choices. She wrote, I always thought I had to accept what my family gave me. Now I know I can build something better. When my phone rings with Rachel's name on the screen, I no longer feel the surge of dread I once did. Happy birthday, she says, her voice steady in a way it never was before. Thank you. I curl up on the window seat, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. I've been thinking about you all day. Rachel continues after a brief silence. About who we were, who I was. She takes a deep breath. I'm sorry for who I was back then. I'm more better. The words hang between us, the first genuine acknowledgement in our entire lives. I'm proud of your progress, I tell her, meaning it. But my forgiveness isn't your finish line. This is your journey now. After we hang up, I open the photo album grandfather gave me months ago. Inside are the few childhood pictures where I'm not overshadowed by Rachel's needs or my parents' expectations. I touch the face of my 6-year-old self, solemn eyes looking directly at the camera. I protected you the way they never did, I whisper. The doorbell rings, Hannah arriving early to help set up for the weekend brunch I'm hosting. I close the album and place it back on the shelf where it belongs, acknowledged but no longer defining me. As I walk toward the sound of Hannah's laughter, I feel the weight of the emerald pendant against my skin. Some inheritances are worth claiming. Others are better left behind. My phone vibrates against my desk.
the screen flashing with a series of fraud alerts from my platinum card. $35,000. My coffee mug slips from my fingers, shattering against the polished surface of my desk. Hot liquid seeps into the project files I'd just finished, 3 weeks of work ruined in an instant. No, 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 I whisper, frantically dabbing at the spreading stain with a handful of tissues. But it's useless. Just like the birthday I'm spending alone at my design firm in downtown Denver, working late again because deadlines wait for no one, not even 29-year-old women whose families have forgotten what day it is. I abandon the soggy mess and stare at my phone. The charges are from Snowmass Lodge in Aspenone, of those places where a bottle of water costs more than an entire meal anywhere else. The same resort where my sister June mentioned she'd be networking this weekend. My hands shake as I dial my parents' number. Mom answers on the 4th ring, her voice casual, as if we'd spoken just yesterday instead of a week ago when I'd transferred another $3,000 into their account. Lydia, honey, is something wrong? It's awfully late. There's $35,000 in charges on my platinum card from Snowmass Lodge. My voice sounds strange, hollow. Did someone steal my card? A pause. Then Dad's voice joins in. They've put me on speaker. Now, Lydia, don't get worked up. June needed a little treat. She's been working so hard looking for the right opportunity. The room tilts sideways. You gave June my credit card? Just as a small treat, Mom repeats, her voice soothing in that way that's always made me doubt my own reactions. She's networking with some very important people. 18 months ago, I moved my design workspace into my childhood bedroom. Dad's business had collapsed under a mountain of debt, and the family home, the one with the hand-carved banister and the kitchen where Mom taught me to bake snickerdoodles, was weeks away from foreclosure. I'd stepped in, became the mortgage guarantor, moved back home to save on rent. It's temporary, Dad had promised, his hand on my shoulder, just until I get back on my feet. Temporary stretched into permanent. My 70-hour work weeks covered the $12,500 monthly expenses, while my parents praised June's aggressive job hunting. Sunday dinners became my responsibility too, cooking through exhaustion while June scrolled through her phone, occasionally showing Mom pictures of places she'd like to vacation someday. Last month, I confronted Mom about the empty pantry. I gave you $4,000 for groceries 3 weeks ago, I said, staring at the bare shelves. Mom didn't look up from her magazine. Prices are up, dear. Your sister needs proper nutrition for job interviews. My hands had stopped trembling then, just as they stopped trembling now. A strange calm settles over me as I pull up my banking statements. There's $3,800 in charges at Whole Foods and Bristol Farms this month alone. I say, my voice steady. What exactly is June eating? Dad clears his throat. Now, Lydia, you know women are better with the shopping. Your mother handles all that. The unspoken implication hangs in the air. Don't question. Don't look too closely. Don't disrupt our comfortable arrangement. But I'm the mortgage guarantor. If my credit is ruined, we all lose the house. I look down at the banking app still open on my phone, scrolling through transaction after transaction. Something catches my eye, a charge at Nordstrom that matches a designer handbag I've seen somewhere before. Then I remember, June posted a photo on Instagram last week. Treating myself, the caption read. I'd assumed it was a knockoff. Across the room, Mom shifts in her chair, and I glimpse the edge of a familiar-looking bag partially hidden behind her seat. The same pale pink leather, the same gold hardware. Lydia? Are you still there? Dad's voice breaks through my thoughts. I need to go, I say quietly. My desk is covered in coffee and I have a presentation tomorrow. I hang up before they can respond, before they can offer the excuses I know by heart. The fraud alerts continue to light up my phone, each one a betrayal from the people who should have protected me. And for the first time in 18 months, I wonder if it's time to stop protecting them. Next morning, the beep of my voicemail echoes through the empty kitchen. It's 5:30 a.m., and I've been awake since 3, my mind racing with numbers and betrayal. I press play, expecting another creditor hunting Dad's unpaid bills. Instead, June's voice fills the room. Mom, I need the platinum card before Lydia changes the PIN again. The limit should cover the full weekend at Snowmass. My stomach lurches. I grab the counter, knuckles white against the marble. Don't worry about her finding out. June continues, laughter bubbling through her words. She never checks the statements until the end of the month. By then, I'll have made some connections that could really help all of us. Dad's voice rumbles in the background. Tell her we'll leave it in the usual spot. I sink onto the bottom stair, the cold wood pressing against my thighs. The nausea intensifies as June adds, remember last time she freaked about the Nordstrom charges? God, she acts like we're stealing, as if she doesn't owe us after everything you guys did raising her. Mom's voice clearer now. She's always been so uptight about money. Not like you, sweetheart. The message ends. My hand trembles as I press play on the next one, recorded just 2 days ago. Got the card, June says. The room is amazing. You guys should see the view of the mountains from here. The betrayal wraps around my chest like a vice. Not a mistake, not an impulse. A coordinated plan by all three of them. When I confront them 3 hours later, they're already waiting at the kitchen table. June's voice emerges from Dad's phone on speaker, the tinny sound of her ordering room service in the background. Just some fresh berries, the avocado toast with the poached eggs, and a mimosa, she tells someone before addressing us. Lydia, you're overreacting. It's family money. I remain standing while they lounge in their chairs. Mom sips her coffee, avoiding my eyes. Tell her, Dad. June prompts through the speaker. Dad clears his throat. Look, Lydia, we're in a bit of a situation. Our cards are maxed out too. There was no other option. No other option? The words escape through clenched teeth. Well, there's also the tax lien. Dad adjusts his reading glasses, a nervous tell I recognize from childhood. I meant to tell you. The IRS filed it last month. That's why I needed the extra $4,000. Mom reaches for my hand. I pull away. And I've been giving June a little of the grocery money each week, she admits, her voice soft. She needed professional clothes for interviews. June sighs through the speaker. It's family money anyway. Don't be so uptight. Dad waves his hand dismissively. You'll make more next month. You always do. The realization hits me with stunning clarity. I haven't been a daughter to them for 18 months. I've been an ATM. My job requires a credit check every 6 months. I say, my voice steadier than I feel. If my score drops because of this debt, I could lose my security clearance. I could lose everything. You're being dramatic, June says. I hear ice clinking in a glass. The interest alone on $35,000 would wipe out my emergency fund. I continue. Did any of you think about that? Mom studies her coffee cup. We assumed you'd just pay it off. And if I don't? June's tone sharpens. Then I'll come to your precious design firm and tell everyone how you abandoned your family. How would that look to your fancy clients? June, Dad warns, but there's no real reprimand in his voice. If we lose the house, it would be on you, Mom adds quietly, after everything we've done for you. I walk to Dad's office without responding. The filing cabinet in the corner contains every important family document, organized by my father back when he ran a legitimate business. I find what I'm looking for in the third drawer. The deed to the house, transferred to my name 18 months ago when Dad faced the tax lien, a fact they've apparently forgotten. As I hold the deed papers in my hands that night, I wonder if I should confront them immediately with this leverage, or develop a more comprehensive plan. Immediate confrontation might stop the bleeding, but patience might allow me to secure my future once and for all. What would you do when the family that should protect you becomes the threat you need protection from? June returns from Aspen with a tan that cost more than my first car. She tosses her designer luggage in the foyer and announces she's hosting a homecoming dinner tonight. I already picked up groceries, she says, waving my credit card statement in my face like a trophy. The least you can do is show up on time. I stand in the kitchen doorway that evening, watching my parents fawn over June's overcooked pasta and watery sauce. The table groans under bottles of wine that match the ones I'd bookmarked for a client project, bottles I can't afford for myself but apparently fund for my sister's dinner parties. My stomach growls. I haven't eaten since yesterday. The grocery money I transferred to the family account last week disappeared into whatever feast June is presenting tonight. Each bite they take feels like another dollar being sucked from my account. Lydia, honey, sit down, Mom says, not looking up from her heaping plate. June has exciting news. June straightens, tossing her hair back. Remember those investors I met in Aspen? They love my business concept. I just need startup capital. 50,000 should do it. She turns to me with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. We all know who has the deepest pockets in this family. Dad nods enthusiastically. This could be the opportunity that turns everything around for us. Us. Not me. Never me. Oh, and I borrowed your laptop to finalize my business plan, June adds casually. Hope you don't mind. I find them in my office the next morning. Papers scattered across my desk, drawers hanging open, my laptop nowhere to be seen. The lock I installed last week has been pried off, wood splintered around the doorframe. That night, I stare at my bedroom ceiling until 3 a.m., heart pounding every time a floorboard creaks. By dawn, I've moved my passport, birth certificate, and the house deed to a lockbox in my car trunk. The irony doesn't escape me, I'm hiding my possessions in my own home. When my work presentation falls flat the next day, my boss pulls me aside. Lydia, is everything all right? You look exhausted. Before I can answer, my phone vibrates another creditor calling about my father's unpaid medical bills. I silence it with trembling fingers. Just a rough night, I lie. At the financial advisor's office later that day, I spread out 3 months of bank statements while she reviews the spreadsheet I've created. Every unauthorized charge, every borrowed dollar meticulously documented. These patterns constitute financial abuse, she says gently. You understand that, right? I nod, my throat tight. That evening, I hide my phone behind a potted plant, recording as my parents and June discuss accessing my 401k just temporarily for June's business venture. I tell myself this evidence might be necessary someday, but the truth burns in my chest. I'm preparing for war against my own family. Between meetings the next day, I check my email and find a message from Great Aunt Delilah in Santa Fe. The subject line reads simply, "When you're ready." Your grandfather always said, "The strength to say no is worth more than the money to say yes." I have staff housing above my bistro. Call me when you're ready. That evening, I find Dad in his workshop, sanding a coffee table that looks identical to the 3 others gathering dust in the corner. No one wants handcrafted furniture when IKEA exists, but he refuses to adapt his business model just like he refuses to acknowledge reality in every other aspect of his life. Dad, we need to talk about the credit cards. He doesn't look up. Family supports each other no matter what. That's what makes us family. The words hit a switch inside me, illuminating years of manipulation. Support goes both ways, I say, my voice steadier than I expected. What I've been giving isn't support, it's surrender. His sander stills. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know about the quitclaim deed. His face pales as he sets down his tools. That was just a temporary legal maneuver, to protect us from the tax lien. To protect you? I correct him. And now it protects me. In that moment, standing among the sawdust and failed projects, I realize my worth isn't measured by what I provide to my family. It never was. Later that night, Aunt Delilah emails detailed employment contracts for all 3 family member server positions at her bistro, with staff housing included. Her terms are clear. Actual work for actual pay. No handouts. They'll resist structure and accountability, she writes. But that's exactly what they need. Her follow-up call comes as I'm researching the housing market in our neighborhood. They broke your trust, she says when I express doubts about my plan. You don't owe them a warning. The next morning, I book 3 one-way tickets to Santa Fe using June's dormant credit card, the one she forgot she had when claiming poverty. The real estate developer who's been eyeing our property for years answers on the first ring. Still interested in the Churchill Heights location, I ask? Absolutely. All cash offer, as discussed. 3 days later, I stand in the driveway watching my family pile into Dad's car for what they think is a bonding weekend at a mountain resort, me birthday gift to them. The house keys feel heavy in my palm, the signed listing agreement tucked in my pocket. As their taillights disappear around the corner, I take out my phone and call the realtor. They're gone, bring the sign. Later that day, the house feels different with them gone. Quieter, certainly, but there's something else in absence of weight I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. I move through each room with purpose, my footsteps echoing against hardwood floors that have supported 3 generations of Carringtons. In my childhood bedroom, the one I'd surrendered to my design business 18 months ago, I pull open drawers and methodically remove my possessions. Each item goes into labeled boxes: clothing, design materials, personal. My phone buzzes with texts from June asking if I've seen her favorite scarf. I silence it without responding. The vintage roll-top desk that once belonged to my grandfather yields old bank statements and receipts. I photograph each one, creating a digital record of my financial history with the family. When I find the jewelry box containing my grandmother's pearl earrings, the ones Mom borrowed last Christmas, I secure it in my purse rather than the moving boxes. By noon, I've changed the locks. The locksmith raises an eyebrow when I explain the situation. Family troubles? He asks, handing me the new keys. Family solutions, I correct him. While he's still loading his tools into his van, my phone rings. It's Sandra, the realtor I contacted yesterday. Lydia, you won't believe this. I've already received a full-price offer. The developer I mentioned, they're prepared to close within the week, all cash. My hand tightens around the phone. That's faster than I expected. Cash offers move quickly. They're eager to break ground on that new complex. Should I tell them you need more time? I look around at the half-packed boxes, at the framed family photo still hanging crookedly in the hallway, my father's arm around June's shoulders, my mother smiling at them both while I stand slightly apart. Always the observer. Number fast is good. 2 hours later, I'm sitting across from Teresa Blackwell, the attorney I found through Aunt Delilah's network. She reviews the quitclaim deed, nodding as she flips through the pages. This is ironclad, Miss Carrington. Your father transferred complete ownership to you. There's no provision for reversion or co-ownership. And the sale? With this deed and your documentation, you're within your legal rights to sell without their consent. She removes her glasses. Though I should advise you that family real estate transactions often lead to litigation? Let them try. I slide the folder of recorded conversations across her desk. I have June on tape admitting to credit card fraud. Teresa's eyebrows rise slightly the closest she comes to showing surprise. That should be quite persuasive. I'll contact the developer's legal team today. Back at the house, I'm wrapping grandmother's china when my phone vibrates. June's name flashes on the screen. Against my better judgment, I answer. We need another $2,000, she announces without preamble. Santa Fe is more expensive than we thought, and Dad found this amazing local artist who… Number. The silence on the other end lasts 3 full seconds. What do you mean, no? It's just $2,000. You make that in what, a week? I'm not sending more money, June. Fine, whatever. I'll just use your card again. We all know where you keep the… I've canceled all my cards and opened new accounts. You won't find them in my desk drawer anymore. Her laugh has a brittle edge. You act like this is some big secret. Mom and Dad have been using your cards for months. It's family money. The recorder app on my laptop blinks red as it captures every word. Is that why you charged $35,000 at Snowmass Lodge? Oh, please, like you couldn't afford it. Besides, that's what family does. We take care of each other. By committing fraud? Another pause. You wouldn't dare call it that. If you even think about making trouble, I'll contest any crazy thing you might be planning. Dad says the house is still technically family property regardless of some stupid paper he signed. I end the call and immediately send the recording to her email with a single line. Legal definition of admission of guilt. Within minutes, my parents' number lights up my phone. 5 missed calls. 7 text messages, each more frantic than the last. What have you done? June is hysterical. We need to talk about this as a family. Your father never meant to sign over the house completely. Did you know about the investment account? Lydia, Eleanor Carrington, answer your phone right now. We can explain everything. I silence the phone and return to packing. The movers arrive tomorrow. Later that evening, as I'm labeling the last box of kitchen items, my attorney calls. The developer has agreed to the expedited closing. We can have funds transferred by Friday. She pauses. They've asked if your family will need a grace period to vacate the property. The question catches me off guard. Would mercy now invite future manipulation, or would a clean break without compromise finally teach them the lesson they needed to learn? I think of June's casual admission about the credit cards, of Dad's dismissal of my concerns, of Mom hiding designer bags behind chairs while pleading poverty. No grace period, I decide, but I have made other arrangements. After hanging up, I call Aunt Delilah. It's happening faster than expected, I tell her. Can your offer of housing still stand? The apartments above the bistro are ready whenever they are, she says. And I've drawn up employment contracts for all 3 of them. Real work, real wages. They won't like that. They don't have to like it. They just have to decide if pride is worth homelessness. Her voice softens. How are you holding up, sweetheart? Better than expected. My boss has approved remote work for the next month while I transition. And the house? Closing Friday. 1.65 million, all transferred to my new account. We talk a while longer about practical matters, furniture storage, mail forwarding, the movers coming tomorrow. As we're about to hang up, my phone beeps with an incoming call. That's Mom, I say, checking the screen. Are you going to answer? Not tonight. After we disconnect, I listen to the voicemail. Mom's voice sounds different, smaller, without its usual confident edge. Lydia, please call me back. Just me, not your father or June. A shaky breath. I know I've been. I should have stopped your sister years ago. I just didn't know how. Another pause. Whatever you're planning, please just talk to me first. Outside, the moving truck pulls into the driveway. The neighbors across the street stand on their porch, watching openly now. Mrs. Grayson, who has lived there for 30 years, waves tentatively. I wave back, then turn to face the house that will soon have a sold sign on its lawn. Tomorrow, my family returns, expecting everything to be exactly as they left it. They have no idea what awaits them. When my family returned from their trip, they immediately called me to the house. My rental car pulls up to the curb in front of what was once my childhood home. The large SOD sign dominates the front lawn where my father's prized hydrangeas used to bloom. My family stands huddled near the front porch, their suitcases scattered around them like abandoned life rafts. My phone vibrates against the console. Dad again. Lydia, sweetheart, there's been a misunderstanding with the house. Call us immediately. I step out of the car clutching a manila envelope. The weight of it feels substantial in my hands. 18 months of evidence, all neatly organized. Mom spots me first. Her face crumples into the theatrical sob I've seen countless times, usually when she wants something expensive. How could you do this to your own family? Her voice carries across the lawn, designed to draw attention from the neighbors peeking through their blinds. June stands with her arms crossed, designer sunglasses hiding her eyes but not the tight line of her mouth. We need to talk now. Her voice lacks its usual breezy confidence. Dad steps forward, hands raised in a placating gesture that once made me feel safe. Lydia, listen. We can negotiate here. This house, there was a family understanding about ownership. Understanding? I keep my voice level. You tricked me into signing that quitclaim deed, he says, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. I never would have signed if I knew you'd pull something like this. Something like what? Protecting my assets? June steps forward. Look, I know things got a little out of hand with the credit card, but we'll pay you back when my business takes off. My Aspen connections are solid. My mother nods eagerly. Just a few more months, sweetheart. Your father has prospects. The same promises, recycled endlessly like the birthday cards they regift to me each year with the wrong age. I open the manila envelope and pull out the first document. This is the original quitclaim deed you signed 18 months ago, Dad. Your signature, witnessed by your own attorney. I place it on the hood of my car and add another paper. This is a transcript of June's voicemail to you both, planning to use my credit card before she changes the PIN again. My father's face pales. I continue laying out documents one by one. Bank statements showing $3,800 in grocery charges when the pantry remained empty. Credit card bills with June's Aspen charges highlighted. Tax lien notices you hid from me while I paid the mortgage. Now, Lydia, my father starts, but his voice lacks conviction. The house sale is final. The proceeds have covered your tax lien, my maxed-out credit cards, and 18 months of supporting 3 adults. I pull out 3 plane tickets. Aunt Delilah has housing and jobs waiting for you in Santa Fe. Here are your tickets for tomorrow morning. June snatches the ticket from my hand, then freezes as she examines it. This was charged to my credit card. You had no right. The same right you had to use mine. I reply. The difference is, I recorded you admitting to fraud, which means you can either accept these tickets or explain to the police why you stole $35,000. From my briefcase, I withdraw 3 identical folders and hand one to each family member. These are invoices detailing everything I've paid for since moving back home. Mom flips through the pages, her face flushing darker with each turn. We're your parents. You can't charge us for raising you. This starts 18 months ago, when I became the parent. I say, my voice carrying across the lawn. Before that is free. Neighbors have abandoned all pretense of not watching. Mrs. Henderson waters the same patch of grass she's been standing by for 10 minutes. Rent at market rate for the master bedroom you took over while I slept in my childhood twin bed. I continue. Groceries, utilities, property taxes, car insurance for vehicles I don't drive, clothing allowances, June's spa days. June tries to walk away, her heels stabbing into the soft grass. I wouldn't leave if I were you, I call after her. The credit card debt is legally in your name now. I have the transfer documentation right here. She stops, her shoulders rigid. You have two choices? I say, gesturing toward the tickets on the hood of my car. Accept Aunt Delilah's offer or figure it out yourselves, but you won't be figuring it out with my money anymore. Dad looks at Mom, a silent communication passing between them. For the first time, I recognize it for what it is, not the romantic telepathy I once imagined, but the conniving of co-conspirators. I slide back into my car and watch through the windshield as reality settles over them. Their voices rise in argument, Mom pointing at June shoving Dad's shoulder when he tries to calm her. My phone buzzes with a text from a friend who works at the local bank. Quentin and Margot just got rejected for a personal loan. Third bank this morning. The moving truck that contains what little I salvaged from my childhood pulls away from the curb. I watch my family in the rearview mirror, still huddled on the lawn, still arguing about whose fault this is. No one waves goodbye. As I drive toward my new downtown loft, the weight on my shoulders lifts for the first time in 18 months. The invoice has been delivered. Payment, in one form or another, will finally be collected. A year later, morning sunlight streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my downtown Denver loft, casting golden rectangles across the polished concrete floor. 6 team members sit around my conference table, nodding as I walk them through the presentation for our biggest client. The interactive elements need to be intuitive enough for their older demographic. I say, swiping through mock-ups on the wall-mounted screen, let's revise the navigation once more before Thursday's pitch. My phone buzzes on the table. 4 times in rapid succession. A year ago, I would have lunged for it, heart racing, wondering what family crisis needed my immediate attention. Today, I glance at it briefly, note the bank notification icon, and turn back to my team. Danny, can you walk us through the user testing results? My phone remains face down. Do not disturb, engaged during working hours. The framed poster behind my desk catches the morning light. Generosity without boundaries isn't kindness, it's self-neglect. Beside it hangs my Innovation and User Experience Award from last month for the project that had once been coffee-stained and delayed by family demands. After the meeting disperses, I check my notifications. A fraud alert from my credit card company, $2,400, charged at an electronics store in Phoenix. I settle into my ergonomic chair and methodically report the fraudulent charges, request a replacement card, and document the case number in my financial spreadsheet. No racing pulse, no shattered coffee mugs. Just a minor inconvenience to be handled between client calls. Lydia? Mark from the marketing team leans against my doorframe. I hate to ask, but I'm in a bind with the Davidson proposal. Could you front me the deposit for the focus group facility? Just this once? The company card is maxed from that conference last week. I meet his eyes, noting the casual expectation in his tone. The company has an established process for expense advances. Paula in accounting can help you submit the request form. But that takes 3 days and I need it today. Then you should have planned accordingly. The words come easily now, without guilt or second guessing. I'd be happy to help you prioritize the timeline if the focus group needs rescheduling. He blinks, surprised at the boundary, then nods. Yeah, okay, thanks anyway. I recognize entitlement so quickly now, spotting the familiar patterns in colleagues, clients, even potential dates. The clarity feels like a superpower. Saturday afternoon finds me at Aunt Delilah's Bistro in Santa Fe. Through the kitchen window, I spot my father expediting orders while my mother arranges fresh flowers on the tables. June emerges from the back, carrying trays with practiced efficiency. Later, Delilah and I share dinner on her apartment balcony overlooking the plaza. She raises her wine glass to drawing lines in the sand and standing behind them. I clink my glass against hers, savoring the cool Chardonnay. I couldn't have done it without you. Nonsense. Delilah's eyes crinkle at the corners. Your grandfather would have done exactly the same thing. That backbone of yours is pure Carrington steel. When I return to Denver on Sunday, a certified letter waits in my mailbox. Inside is an envelope containing $4,000 in crisp hundreds and a handwritten note from June. Lydia, this is this month's payment. I'll send the same amount monthly until it's repaid. You were right. Real respect comes from earning your way, not taking someone else's. Mom and Dad started counseling last week. Things are different here. Maybe someday they will be between us too. June. I carry the cash to my home office and add it to my future home fund rather than depositing it into my checking account. As I file June's first repayment, I wonder if some relationships can only heal after they're broken completely and rebuilt from scratch. Is it better to forgive family who've hurt you once they've faced consequences? Or is maintaining distance the only way to ensure the cycle doesn't begin again?